I'll talk to you real quick on the relationship between truth and sincerity. What relationship is there at all between these two things, between truth and sincerity? So one of the things that when you're having conversations that matter, when you're dealing with spiritual issues, is you will a lot of times have people who appear to be very sincere in what they believe. As a matter of fact, you may have people who are more sincere even than you are about elements that you claim to believe. And this is, in fact, something that comes up a lot. People say that they can be good without God. They don't need God to be good. They don't need to have read the Bible to be good. This is just one example. Another example manifests in a little bit different way, but another example would be talking about the disciples, the apostles of Jesus Christ who died, ultimately gave their lives. 11 out of 12 of them did. Gave their lives simply because of the testimony of Jesus Christ. They would not recant. They would not back down for what they knew to be true. And people say, well, what about those who are Muslims and they would willingly give their life for the sake of Allah, and they will sacrifice themselves. So there are many different ways this question can manifest itself. And so we can't possibly go through each and every one of those examples to try to make our point today. But we want to answer the bigger question, right? Is there actually a relationship at all between what is true and who holds that truth sincerely, or if anybody holds that truth sincerely? And I'm going to say no. I'm going to say that there is really no connection, no logical connection, no necessary connection at all between truth and sincerity. None whatsoever. And that might be shocking to hear, but it's the same reason why you can't use in a debate, you can't use an ad hominem attack. Ad hominem simply just means to the man. You can't attack the person and use that as an argument against their view. In other words, Bob might be a Christian. Bob might also be one of the most outspokenly wretched businessmen there possibly is. He could do deals bad all around town for all you know. And he may be proud of that. He may even boast that to others. Now, in that case, is it at least somewhat likely that he's not a Christian? Not living according to the way that Christ has said we ought to live, and therefore giving evidence that he is not in Christ, not a born-again believer? Well, that's true. It could possibly give that, that could be the case. But it's not necessarily the case. And it certainly has nothing to do with whether or not God exists. In other words, Bob, being a filthy businessman who also claims to be a Christian, from that it does not follow, therefore God does not exist. They're just not related. And in the same exact way, I think truth has that relationship to sincerity. Something could be true even if nobody believed it. Even if nobody fought for it, something could still be true. You could have somebody in court, a criminal, who all the evidence says that they've committed this crime. And you could have a very passionate, maybe it was a rape or something, and you've got the victim of the rape and maybe her family on the stand begging and pleading and just telling about how they know it is this person and how awful it is, and the jury all agrees with them. And no matter how sincere they all are, it might still not be true. So just because somebody is sincere does not mean that what they believe is true or false. It just doesn't speak to it at all. That's why you need to move past it. That's why in conversations you can't focus your arguments on the person. You need to look at their view. You need to see what their view entails. A view needs to be assessed on its merits and dealt with from there. You can't deal with the sincerity of the person who holds the view to determine whether or not it is true or false. So don't make that mistake, and don't let others make that mistake to you. This runs both ways. Oftentimes, the Christian is at fault here for making an accusation that has to do with the sincerity of the unbeliever, and yet it has nothing to do with whether or not their view is true or false. So just remember that in your conversations. That's a tip that I think will help you as you fight to defend the faith for Christ.